Growing up, I went to PS 99 in Queens, and my first grade teacher was Mrs. Lozito. And, she stands out to me for a number of reasons. One, it was the type of classroom that she had. We all sat at tables and we were able to talk to one another. We had a play center even in first grade. It was kind of like a learning complex, so it wasn't quite an open classroom. We could see the other classroom, but there was a big space in between where we did plays and built with blocks and all of that. That was super important to me. But the thing that really stands out and that has stayed with me my entire life was when I was in first grade, my grandmother that was living with us at the time passed away. And it was a traumatic event for me because I was there. And so school was kind of like a haven for me. And I just remember distinctly one day turning in my spelling book and being kind of afraid, like, I don't think I have everything right. And I just remember going next to her and putting my book down, and she looked up at me and could see that my mind was not on spelling, and she closed the book and she just said that she was there for me if I needed to talk to her, if I needed to, maybe dip out every now and then to use the restroom if I was going to cry or something like that. And she just kind of grounded me and settled me when the rest of my life was kind of tumultuous. And that feeling of safety and security and closeness, knowing that I was important to her, more important than spelling those words correctly, changed my whole life at that point. And from then on, that is what I wanted to become. The environment is what I wanted to emulate. And she was just always with me. The memory of that. When I was in sixth grade, I became her classroom helper with a friend of mine. So I was able to go back and reconnect with her. And she eventually left on maternity leave, and she sent me a card, with her baby's picture in it. So we were, always very, very close. I've tried to find her on Facebook. I'm not having any luck, but I just want to put it out there that that one act changed the entire course of my life. So I just want to put it out there. Thank you, Mrs. Lozito.
I consider myself incredibly lucky to have had so many amazing teachers growing up. When I think back, my kindergarten teachers, Mrs. Post and Mrs. Smith, really stand out. They didn't just teach me my letters and numbers, they made learning fun. Those early experiences stuck with me, and I found myself trying to recreate that same kind of joy when I worked in daycare and as a pre-K teacher. Lots of energy, lots of patience, and definitely lots of glitter. Then came 8th grade, when I met a teacher who would unknowingly change everything for me before I was even in her class. Mrs. Redmond, yes, our very own upper school art teacher, first encountered me as I sped past her classroom in the hallway on a pair of Heelys. So really, you could say my teaching journey started with questionable footwear choices. When I eventually had her as a teacher in high school, she became someone I could always go to. She recently saw something in me that I didn't really see in myself, and that's kind of why I'm here today. Because of Mrs. Redmond, I found my way to Powhatan 3 years ago. I truly couldn't be happier. I went from thinking I would never teach anything above pre-K to thinking, 4th grade, I live here now. The teachers who inspired me didn't just teach, they made learning fun. They believed in me and probably put up with a lot along the way. So now I just hope that I can do the same for my students, minus the Heelys in the hallway.
Teachers that inspire me. Like all teachers, there are people, more than just one usually, that inspire us to do what we do. My first inspiration was Paul Tomlin, my high school band director, Audubon, New Jersey. He was the first grown-up that kind of really saw us as a teenager at a time when, grown-ups weren't always paying attention to you, it felt like. And then when I got to college, my buddy Paul Bakeman is the other mentor in my life. I always say he's like my Yoda. He's sort of my touchstone. When I had a problem early on as a teacher, I would talk to him. Even now, when I have stuff to talk about, I talk to him. He's still there. So yeah, and hopefully when other kids grow up, maybe I'll have been an inspiration on some level, or that'd be kind of cool. So yeah.
So when I was a senior in high school, I went to visit my aunt, who was dying of cancer at the time, and my aunt had been a teacher for many, many years. And I told her that I wanted to follow in her footsteps, and I also wanted to be a teacher. She said, that's great. And then she asked me to teach her how to add 2 + 2. And so I showed her on a piece of paper, and she said, great, show me another way. And she did that over and over again until I had to come up with at least 5 different ways to teach the same concept. Obviously, I ended up becoming a teacher, and I've taken that lesson of realizing that not all students are the same, that we're not all the same, that we need to find creative and new ways to teach students so that it's meaningful to them. And I always tend to reflect on my teaching. I never teach something the same way twice, because if I can't do it better the next time, then I'm not learning how to be a good teacher as well.
Yes, my college volleyball coach, Tom Roof. Probably one of the best coaches I've had in my career. He's always just believed in me. He's also made me a team leader, and he's always made sure that I stayed in my classes, made sure our GPA, our grades came first. He always said our grades come before volleyball. Even if we had a test or class assignments, he always wanted us to get that stuff done first before coming to practice, because being an athlete is a great fun experience, but for him it was always in the classroom first before we came to practices, before games, checking in with our professors, making sure we got all of our work caught up, or if we missed a class, we always get our work and bring it with us on the bus, homework at tournaments, games, on the bus, off the bus, always there. And it just made me an overall a really good player and a leader, and he always taught me to lead by example. I see how the kids grow, and just teaching them and being positive with them, it makes me look back at my experiences with my coach, knowing he made a positive impact on me, and I just want to make a positive impact on the students here at Powhatan.
So I always wanted to be a teacher from a very young age. I actually used to force my little brothers to play school with me, much to their dismay. They would actually do the same paper multiple times, so I had multiple different things to grade, and they loved it, every minute of it. So teaching was just natural for me. However, in college, I had a professor, Dr. Roy, and he made me fall in love with teaching math in a way that is fun. It's the only class I've ever been engaged in for 3.5 hours as a college kid. And I was sad when that class was canceled. And he just, every time I think of Dr. Roy, I think of how much he believed in me. And I actually tell that to my kids a lot. And I'll be like, I believe in you, like you can do this. And he greatly influenced who I am as a teacher. I'm so thankful for him.
Yeah, thinking back, Coach Sims, definitely big inspiration to me. He was my middle school football coach. And even today, I like to bring the things he used to tell me to Powhatan, to the field, and to the court. And a lot of it was always pushing through when things were tough. And I know it sounds simple, but when things get hard, it's easy to fold, and we wanted to have a winning mentality. So I try to encourage that to the kids here. And then additionally, there's little things. I say it all the time, just because Coach Sims told us, little things add up to big things. And I want to continue to instill that in the kids here. And I appreciate you, Coach Sims, because I really enjoy what I do here at Powhatan with those kids every day.